keep up as to what we discussed last time, which I believe was surrounding the request for payment or cost sharing associated with the repairs at Spalding One. Since that time, we have learned. So the plan was originally for PG&E to place a flange in the main tunnel that feeds Spalding 1 and Spalding 2 to allow for Spalding 1 to be dry while they did the Horn B repair to be able to allow water to still go through Spalding 2 PRV and get into the South Yuba Canal. Tunnel was found to be leaking, which was creating unsafe work conditions for the repair of the horn. And so they have had to dry the tunnel back out again, and we will not be receiving any water into the South Yuba Canal while this repair is going on from Spalding. There is a little bit of water potentially related to some small in-stream flows. It's about 5 CFS, and then been working with TOR to maximize any additional natural or our own water rights we bring into the South Yuba Canal, which will be very minimal. So we will be living off of storage again this irrigation season in both Scotts Flat and in Rollins.
Till August 1st?
Correct.
More or less.
Well, assuming they are,
So this Horn B repair is supposed to be complete and start testing it June 26th. Full return to service is currently estimated to be August 2nd. We could potentially have some challenges on refilling. It is likely we will enter into canal rotations again coming off of the Deer Creek system, which is Scotts Flat, because of the capacity issues in the DS Canal and having to pump up to the Cascade. A new issue got brought to our attention. Something else broke in a whole different location up there. So we just learned of this. They're still working through the details. We're still trying to understand what the total issue is, but essentially within Lake Spalding, there are 2 intakes that take water from the lake that go into the powerhouse in the tunnel. When they dewatered the tunnel after they found the flange to be leaking, they found a piece of the intake tower that is underwater in the lake. There's a tower in the lake that is underwater, and there is some type of debris rack, something to keep wooded debris out of the top of it. And there's a piece of this large steel strapping that was found into the tunnel. So that means that they need to go do subsequent investigation to determine as to what the extent of the damage, but also to determine whether a repair or any needed repair can be made while the tower is still underwater and still taking water once the testing starts back up. If it is not able to still take water once the testing starts back up, they would have to use a higher elevation intake. They've ran some original calculations. We do think they can get a fairly decent amount of flow coming through around 600 CFS through that upper intake, which would assist us with refilling Rollins and Scotts Flat once we start testing and go back to return to service. But with all that said, they have not completed their investigations, and so we are still in a point of unknown. So as we learn more information, we'll share it. And I do apologize to be the one to be explaining this to you, as you know, I am not familiar with their system. It really would have been better to hear this directly from PG&E. They did decline to attend the meeting.
Oh, you told us all we need to know. You did a good job.
They can't send a camera down in there?
They're sending divers. They're probably sending a camera down. It sounds like that they found out about this maybe a couple of weeks ago. We just learned about it Thursday last week, Friday. So we've been trying to get additional information. We've been having meetings with their staff. So we're monitoring the situation, but our knowledge and decisions are only as good as the information that we're provided. And when we get information provided 2 weeks after it's first learned, it does impact our ability to make sound decisions. So that is always somewhat disappointing.
Do we know when they're going to send a diver in, and is there any restrictions on the divers being sent in by weather or what have you?
Yeah, always restrictions. Big storm coming in. Yeah, beginning April.
Great business partners. So this is the lower tube?
This is the lower intake tower.
Power.
This is a whole new difference.
It's a whole new thing.
If everybody, for those of us
Good.
playing along in
Likely,
this,
right?
this
My
game.
my bingo card is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have started a pool.
Okay, so just so for all of those playing along, I know can be difficult to track. So we have the South Yuba pipe fall off the
Mhm.
hill.
Yeah.
We had Spalding when PRVs get destroyed.
Support pillars.
The support columns get destroyed. Then we had the issues at the Spalding 2 powerhouse, which I'll remind everybody that one has been offline for some time. So it is a little bit interesting that now they not only had to go in and figure out how to bypass water through it now, but they also, I can't remember if we even talked about this. There's been so many issues. They're now having to do a full replacement of their wicket gates.
Right, you did report on that.
I thought I reported on
Yes.
it.
And the governor.
Yes,
Yes.
which that was completed. The wicket gates is not completed, so we'll be looking at
That's a
another
big-
outage for that again.
That's in 26.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put all these dates together because things move very quickly. Now there's so many issues as so many different pieces of infrastructure up there. It is hard to keep track of. So we have,
Forget I got blackout versus bingo.
well, I'm not even done yet. So then there's the issues with the low level outlet in the dam, which has been a known problem and is highly problematic. It's not working. It's whatever buried and there's a hole in the pipe. And then there is also now a new issue with the intake tower, not to mention the tunnel is leaking.
Right,
So there's some issues up there.
They only made $8 billion last year.
I'm not clear on how much money they make, but I do know that it is a lot for us to keep having to handle, but I would like to continue to thank our staff and recognize Tor and the team and Peter and his team and Justin Coster in hydro operations, as well as Nate Wasley. This has been all hands on deck this whole time because every single time water starts and stops, specifically in the South Yuba Canal, we're having to manage it in some new way that we've never done before. And in fact, coming up on this storm event, we're having to call all hands on deck. There's such little water in the South Yuba Canal. We're afraid it's going to snow in, then it can freeze. And so it's a constant all hands on deck to address this. And, without Tor, specifically, he is the mastermind behind all the water movement. We'd be in big trouble. So thank you.
Kudos.
Huge kudos. And
I have-
Chip, of course, but Chip's not here for us to.
Yeah. I have a couple sort of follow-up questions to that. So I know that we've been continually asking for the root cause analysis. Has there been any movement on them providing that? No. Okay. Then I also noticed that PG&E put out a press release that said, everything's great.
Yes.
We're repairing everything right on schedule. There's no problems, essentially.
In the newspaper.
Yeah, in the newspaper. And I got asked about it by someone. They go, well, PG&E says everything's okay. So, I'm wondering if we should put out a press release. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable that they would put that out.
You're going to say, don't believe them?
Well, we could just say, this is what I don't know. I mean, someone better than I with words could figure that out. But it's really interesting because the public is understandably confused.
I don't blame them. It's
Yeah.
confusing situations. There's so many things wrong at so many different locations in the same infrastructure area. It is a little mind boggling. So let me take consideration of trying to put out some information. It's also hard because it's not our infrastructure. So it's very difficult to have to.
Right, but we could at least report out on what we are being told by them to say, in contrast to what PG&E has said on such and such a day, this is what we have been told. I don't know, Greg, what?
Follow up on that if I could. One, could I request a list of issues so
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm getting lost also.
With dates on them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, let me.
our chart date started.
Yes, I can do that.
The second thing is can I request staff start doing a feasibility analysis for eliminating PG&E from our systems?
Oh,
Or
I like his idea.
well, yeah.
yeah, whether it's a bypass, whether it's take over their systems, which are in total disarray, so we have to fix everything or something.
It's a bunch of options, right?
Yeah, options. Let's
Cool.
do a
I
feasibility.
like that
study.
idea.
A little premature.
Yeah, I think, but we're in our minds starting to work through, this is obviously unacceptable. It's an unacceptable position to be in the long run. It is detrimental to not only our ratepayers, but also the entire Nevada County economy and a large portion of Placer County. Something has to change, and whether that is a bypass or they finally determine that it is not a piece of infrastructure they're going to make investment in that is needed and warranted, do they sell it or what? But
Right.
let me start working on that. It might be a little bit of a slow burn. but-
Is there anything in rules, regulations, laws that if they do grade something to a certain point, that it becomes a piece of property that can be foreclosed upon? You know what I mean? It's just- I don't know.
That is an appropriate closed session.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Can we have one?
Well,
I have a question for Jennifer about the newest, did I interrupt you, Rich?
I just want to put on schedule that we're going to have a closed session within the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we'll put it on.
The newest, the trash screen that fell into the pipe, or
Tower.
I paraphrased.
the
Okay,
tower.
the tower.
yeah.
Is that repair do we anticipate that's gonna be incidental and it will not further extend the repair schedule? Is that gonna be something, we think that they're gonna fix that wall in the midst of all these other things?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It really depends on the extent of the damage. If it is just one piece of the rack falling, that could be incidental.
Okay.
If it's in
If it's the whole thing
larger,
falling
yeah,
apart,
if the whole thing's crumbling inside, we haven't.
I just like one clarification.
oh, yeah.
I support what Earl was saying about a feasibility study
Mhm.
because we need to, but I think it's a little early yet because they're still fixing things. They're still discovering problems. But when the time comes, we need to do it.
Well, we can start the 30,000 foot elevation, look at it, say these are options. This one's off the table. These three we can take further when the time comes.
We've done a lot of, it's not gonna be difficult for us to
Bandwidth.
come back with something and
Mhm.
give us a few months. It's already on our radar. We've had internal discussions. We just need to kind of sort through some things.
Does PCWA have the same concerns and levels of difficulty with PG&E with regard to this that we do?
Yes.
That's my question.
Yeah, they have a little bit of a different relationship with PG&E than we do due to the nature of their water purchase agreement.
Mhm.
They have a water purchase agreement, whereas we have a coordinated operating agreement. So our issues are similar but different.
Hmm.
We do coordinate with them.
Well, I was just looking to see if we would also have a partner in PCWA in helping us to,
They're always a great partner.
okay.
Greg, is it time for Brad and I to meet with our PCWA reps?
That was in June.
That's in June.
That's in
Yeah.
June? Yes.
And that's all I had to report. That's why I started with. the form.
Hey, thanks.
Start
for
with the
starting
good-
Fun one.
The
Yeah.
good news, right?
It sounded like an agenda item.
Right. Okay, thank you. We will then move on to Board of Directors items and reports.
My big thing was I'd like to see that feasibility study and see if we could become whole.
Right. Great idea. Rich? Anything to report?
Life changes at noon.
I know, it's exciting.
Oh,
Mm.
There might be a sale of some lands
Oh,
that
his land.
might be happening for him. So Director Beerwagon, do you have a
Oh.
report?
No, I want a second. It's on my radar, what Earl proposed along with, in that study, we have to take a deep look at the feasibility of running those power plants or not, and what that looks like. If we were to move that direction, because
some of them haven't been running for. a
they haven't
while.
been, I'm suspecting that, yeah, worse than that. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, Director
But I
Fowler?
fully support that.
Dirty little.
I have no updates. Just really excited about the school farm and
Yeah.
NID's partnership in that endeavor.
Right, it's really great. Don't have a report, but I did want to ask about, in thinking of those power plants, that they've been offline for all this time, what is, in looking at the feasibility study, what would be the feasibility of just decommissioning the power plants and let the water flow through? It's
It's a long.
a long thing.
Part of it.
Okay. So it's,
I don't have a good answer for you. They're all
Okay.
wrapped up in FERC licensing, so.
right, yeah. And you would think FERC would be paying attention to what's happening there. Do we know if they are?
I got furloughed.
I was just.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They probably don't have jobs
Uh,
anymore.
Yeah, I mean, they are aware of the situation. I have spoken with, one particular staff person, but they're aware of
Okay.
the situation. They're aware through the required reporting PG&E does, so
Okay,
they have knowledge of it.
very good. Okay, with nothing else, then we will be adjourned.